Hi, and welcome back to, I think this is part three of the IHSDM intro. In the last sections, we learned how to import the alignments into IHSDM, create the project structure, as well as entering basic data for our alignments to be analyzed. In this section, I'm going to be going over connecting the ramps to the main line, in addition to creating ramp terminals, which will connect our ramps to the crossroad. And then the ultimate goal of this is when you click on the viewer, you can see all the alignments in the same spot. So for simplicity's sake, the easiest one to start with is going to be the westbound on-ramp. So we already have the connection point defined as station 240 plus 00. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to edit highway, and there's this ramp connection section. So if we click on add, this is a new ramp connection. So we want to connect this westbound on ramp. We set it as it's an entrance ramp. The gore location is going to be that point that we defined, 240 plus 00. This one does not have a gore taper length. It's on the right side of the road. It's on the outside. The alignment priority is going to be the same as the lane that it's connecting to. So that lane has a priority of 40. So we're going to set a priority of 40. So now that ramp is already connected. It really doesn't take too much. So if we exit off and now we come back up to our viewer and we view it again, now we can see, here we go, here's our first connected ramp, and to me it looks like it fits in there pretty darn perfectly so far. So it is really that easy to connect ramps, and visually they're going to show up pretty well because when you export from open roads, the bearings save and you don't have to adjust them at all, really. So it's very, very convenient. All right, so here comes the tricky part. So here's our next alignment, which is the eastbound off ramp. As you can see, I've labeled the station to start at 243 plus 15. I did that for a specific reason, is because that's going to be our ramp connection point for this section. When you're making your open roads files, you can manually edit these starting stations to line up what ramp connection point you want. It makes it really, really easy. You can see I did the same thing here where I have the ending point at 240 plus 00, which is where I wanted to connect it here. So our ramp connection point for this one is going to be 243 plus 15. But as you can see, the gore appears to have a further taper than what we're showing. If we bring out a measuring tool here, let's just look. So it appears to be about 150 feet of additional taper. That will come into play here in a minute. So let's open up our open roads. We're going to go back into our main line ramp connections. So this one's going to be the eastbound off ramp. We set it to an exit ramp. Our point in open roads that we just talked about, 243 plus 15. So we're going to enter that. And I said that gore taper length that we just measured is about 150 feet. So that's going to add in an additional taper section. It won't show visually, but it's the correct way to do it. You can leave them at 0, but it's very helpful for the reviewer if you have these entered correctly. So it's this one's on the left side, on the outside. And as I said, you connect it to the lane that it's leaving from. However, this one is just a straight diverge, and then the third lane continues. So we're just going to put lane priority 30. So we go ahead and we save that. And now we look at our viewer again. Now our off ramp is also connected. So here's our connection point. As I said, it's just a straight diverge. And that's what it will look like. It looks a little sloppy in the viewer, but that's okay. That's how it's supposed to look generally. Another option, if you want, here is you can create a 150-foot deceleration lane with priority 40 and then staple your ramp connection that way. So I'm going to very quickly going to show you what that might look like, because that might make this look a little nicer. Again, there's nothing wrong with it explicitly this way, but it will make it look a little better visually. If you get comments from Wisdot or a reviewer, if someone is looking at it. So 243 plus 15. I'm going to add in a lane on the left. Priority 40, the end location. So we want it to be 150 feet. So that's 244 plus 65 or so. We're going to label it a deceleration lane with 12 foot. And as you recall, we have to update our shoulder section here as well. Here's our left foot outside shoulder. So 243 plus 15. We're going to add in this is for the acceleration piece. And then this is going to be for the rest of the way. So now we have the little acceleration piece as well as the shoulder added. So now if we go back into our ramp connections, we can leave this as an exit ramp. However, we can get rid of our gore taper length because we modeled it as that deceleration lane. And we can also bump our alignment priority up to 40 because it's leaving from that the deceleration lane. So now if we open our viewer back up, it's gonna look much better. So yeah, so to me that looks tremendously better. So when you're modeling the gore taper in the ramp connections, what you're saying that there's a deceleration lane here of however long the taper is. Instead, we just modeled it as a deceleration lane, which is likely how you'll see a lot of models you review. I think this is typically how I do it, just so it looks better visually. But you might also see it the other way. It really depends on who's creating the model. So yeah, that's how you connect ramps. It's really not too difficult. You'll get the hang of it once you start having to, if you have to put multiple in on the project. But it's kind of fun just to look at the viewer and then see, oh yeah, they came in pretty well. You might review some bad models that these ramp connections look really poor, and I'll open up this other one just quickly for reference on what some poor ones may look like. These ones don't look too bad. Alright, so here's maybe a not great one where here's where it's supposed to end, but it's not lined up perfectly. This one's kind of looks like it's leaving from, or it's connecting not even close to where it's supposed to be over here. There's going to be some spots where it's coded right and then just visually doesn't show up super well, or like not as well connected. But they are coded right, so the viewer is not the end-all be-all thing. But try and make it look as nice as possible, because whoever's reviewing it will appreciate it. Okay, so that kind of does it for ramp connections. This video is really not taking too long. I've got about 9 minutes. I know I said I was going to do ramp terminals. I'm going to stop this video and make that into its own separate section.